So The Promised Neverland has officially ended. Season 2 and the story is concluded. Did it end the way I thought it was going to? Kind of, and then also no. I honestly assumed, based on how everything was happening with the past couple of episodes, everyone would switch sides, they would defeat the government, and then obviously everyone lives happily ever after. Wasn't expecting old Ratatouille to just kill himself, but honestly, respect the guy, he stuck by his ideals, and the fact that not only did he slit his throat, they didn't save him, I was actually kind of surprised by that, because given just Emma and the rest, it felt like, everyone was, especially given his reactions at times, I was like, oh, he finally finds a way out, and I thought that's what was going to happen, and instead they actually killed him, and the fact that the ending didn't just happen in this episode, and I know it will anger people because some people really hate montages and clip shows, but I was totally expecting that it'd be like a 5-minute resolution and like everything would just magically be resolved. So the idea of like Emma sending her batch of kids, saying, there's still a lot left to do over the years, when we send them, make sure you help them, I thought was actually kind of interesting and was not what I was expecting. Is there like 5 episodes worth of content we should have seen? Sure, absolutely. But a part of me is at least satisfied that we didn't just get the Disney ending where everyone actually lived, even if it's just one of the enemies, right? Even if it's just one character. The fact that he didn't have a change of heart, I mean, something that I was complaining about for a couple of weeks was about how Norman's side, everyone agreed with him. If the boss is saying do it, we're gonna do it. Even though we want to kill demons, if the boss is saying it, this is anime convenience, we're gonna do it. So I appreciate how there was at least one character who was put in an antagonist role to Emma and Ray's thought process, motivations, things like that. And he decided, you know what, I lost, I can't beat you, I'm gonna kill myself. It may sound a little weird, but I kind of like that about how there was at least something that didn't flip just because one of the central 3 said to do so. Though I will say, as much as I did want to see like some of the people who follow Norman to betray him, I did at least appreciate the doctor kind of like going through and then seeing that one shot of him in the future helping sick kids and stuff. I thought that was quite great. It was just kind of an episode that it was like 50% goes where you think it's going to after seeing the previous 10 episodes of season 2. But then there's also that kind of like, oh, didn't expect the clip show, I thought it was just going to end. And obviously that's going to be a matter of opinion. Do you like having like an open-ended sort of nature and then seeing that they eventually do years down the line reach it? Or would you have rather seen it? All of us are probably going to say we would have rather seen it. But how realistically do you do so with one episode left to go? You can't, so what are our options? Quickly resolve it, or just say it's going to take years? Everyone says we wish we would have had 3 seasons. There's clearly 3 seasons worth of good content to tell. And if you take seasons 1 and seasons 2, obviously some of what's in season 2 needs to be where in that middle portion, but you see where it all kind of comes together. And if you kind of filter through the toxic wastelands of the community surrounding Promised Neverland, there's some pretty good discussions that you can have, both with people who really, really loved it, people who really, really hate it, or people who are just like, yeah, it's an anime, I moved on with my day. I've had some good conversations, and I've seen good conversations as well. It's definitely one of those minefields where you have to tiptoe if you're trying to actually have healthy discussion, It's one of those things where I honestly feel like whether people will end up loving it, hating it, or just kind of whatever about it, it's one of those shows that I think is best discussed with mutuals rather than random people online, because there's definitely been some unhealthy things thrown towards a lot of people. I can only begin to imagine what the creators are. I mean, even if you completely hate it, I've seen some pretty nasty things said online, so I guess we'll see where they go with their mental health. But it was kind of an episode that was just like, if you wanted me to rate it, I don't do numerical ratings. I think they're kind of worthless because a number shouldn't dictate what it is, your thought should. So I think a word that kind of represents what I think about the episode was fine, was probably the best way to put it. The peak of this season was without a doubt when the whole demon village gets starts the massacre because Norman sets off his plan. That's the peak of the season 100%, but there definitely was a lot of good ideas throughout the season. Last week I complimented how the people rose up because if you have a starving society and you're saying, hey, you can't eat kids anymore, but you also won't go hungry, they're going to take that and overthrow the government, right? So I like the fact that there's definitely these ideas that work. There's just so many of those ideas that could have been phenomenal in execution given a handful more episodes. And honestly, it doesn't even need another season. A 16 episode, one of those oddball seasons, almost like Attack on Titan, right? Just have that extra handful and you could have done something so much more extraordinary, and most likely what I could just said this episode being fine probably would have been quite great had we had the extra episodes to build it up, because truthfully watching the episode I was never really mad, I was never really excited. The most excited I was honestly the intro of the episode when we learn about like Minerva's backstory and how he actually relates to this man. I was like, oh, that's actually quite interesting. The exposition dumps in the show I honestly don't mind at all. But the rest of it was kind of like, okay, yeah, we're getting the goodbyes, they're going to go through the gate, and then it's like, oh, they're actually going to stay behind. That's kind of interesting, but, you know, it's a clip show, it's whatever. But at the very least, they didn't just say, like, we bombed the government in one episode, or 1 minute of the episode, and all is well, right? So for me, it just kind of came out as being fine. It wasn't anything great, wasn't anything horrible, it was just like, it ended, and do I regret watching season 2? No, I feel like season 2 concluded the story, and I would have rather watched it than just leave off and never knowing anything else. And walking into this season, all I heard from manga readers was how they hated the ending and hated most of the arcs other than Goldie Pond, so I was like, you know, this was definitely going to be an interesting ride. It's not perfect, it's not even close to perfect, but I also don't think it's horrible either. It's just an okay season, I guess. It has some really good high points, but also has some pretty low points as well, so it just kind of boils down to a fine season is the best way to put it. Am I looking forward to not having to review this anymore? Truthfully, yes. Not necessarily because of the episodes, but honestly, just the comments can get a little tiring, and as someone who reads the comments, because one, I want to make sure people can discuss anime in a healthy way in my comment section, but two, I like to respond to people because if you're going to bother leaving me a comment, most people would like to get a response from me, so I always try to do that. But the comment sections have been a bumpy ride, to say the least, but overall, the anime is far from the worst thing I've ever seen, and if this is the worst anime you've ever seen, count your blessings. There is a lot worse out there, and this is just like an okay season at best. It's obviously never going to match season 1. Season 1 is what I consider to be a horror masterpiece. This was just kind of like a jumbled mess that has its good, but it also has its bad, but honestly, it ends, and that's better than a lot of anime can say, if I'm being honest. Though I will say, the thing I'm going to miss the most about not being able to watch Promised Neverland is the opening was great, honestly. The best thing about the past few episodes, whether I was excited about something or not, the sound was always amazing. The opening always got me excited, even if I was a little worried about what was going to happen. And even the montage at the end, I loved the score that they used to kind of set the mood about what was happening. Even though there wasn't any animation, the music I definitely think helped elevate those pictures into being something that, at the very least, tried to move you, even if it didn't successfully succeed at doing so. It's obviously a matter of opinion, but it wasn't the worst thing ever either. But let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Whether you completely loved it, or you completely despised it, or hell, maybe you're just down the middle like me, you're like, you know what, it ended, it did its job, am I going to remember this in 10 weeks' time? Probably not, but at the very least, when we think back, we know the story is at the very least concluded, and if it completely butchers it for you, you can go read the manga, see if that does it any better for you. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like to show your support, and hit that subscribe button if you're happy and you're around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.